say that?
Homonymy.
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 Yeah, it's a.
The quality of being a homonym.
Yes. Homonymy. Yeah. It's like synecdoche. I can't say that word. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Synecdoche?
Synecdoche.
Yes, I can't say that
Synecdoche.
one. Yeah.
I don't remember what that means, but I know how to say it and
It
spell.
means, isn't it when the whole is represented in
Oh,
a...
that's right.
Yeah.
I always get that mixed up with metonymy.
Yeah, that's another one I
What
can't
are the
say.
Hanam?
Hanam. It just means when words sound like each other. Like we were saying the it's and the it's.
Okay.
And the there and the there
Uh-huh,
and there.
okay.
They all sound
So
alike.
some
Yeah,
sense.
which is
Right.
when
Right.
the whole is represented
Yeah, that's
by
another
Oh, okay.
like,
Ah,
there's a lot of
hands
them.
like that. And means to say that.
Okay,
But-
and so if you guys look at page 2, when you're done writing.
no, yes. Kapitan.
So moving on to page 2,
Hanam.
nami. Yeah, now we can all say it. Yay. Homonymy.
Homonymy.
Okay.
Hanam.
Okay, so these are, like I was just, we mentioned on the first page, the contracted auxiliaries. So these are auxiliary verbs or helping verbs that you contract into contractions. So, for example, these are some of the verbs that you can use in this way. So like do, like she did not see you. You take out the O and the not, and it becomes, and then you squish it all together, and it becomes she didn't see you. And then we have, we have eaten, we've eaten. And then so we had the be verbs on the board, but these are be verbs being used as auxiliary or helping verbs. So like she is going home becomes she's going home, like Chisei mentioned before. And then we also have the modals, like can, could, may, might. And these can be used in a variety of ways, but they're usually to express some kind of mood or aspect. So like she will go, you take out the W and the I and it'll become she'll go. And then there's a list on the last page of the handout and they're all in there. So don't feel like you have to write them all down. Okay, so then any questions about page 2? Good. Okay, so page 3, we'll look at the negative contracted auxiliaries. So these are just like the ones that we just saw, except now you're adding a not or some kind of negative. So, like again, we see the list of verbs like be, we saw isn't, right? But this time we're using it with another verb, like isn't going or isn't ready. No, that's not right. Isn't eating, isn't seeing. Have, don't, and the modals again. So to all of these verbs, you're adding the NT for not, right? So you're just taking out that O again. And then here's a little interesting little thing about am not. There's no standard contraction for am not in English.
Have is not far.
It's an auxiliary. It's the helping, yeah. So haven't heard or haven't gone or something like that. So for am not, we can use, there's this word ain't. Have you guys heard that before? Ain't. A-I-N apostrophe T.
I knew it.
So a lot of people feel that ain't is ungrammatical or it's not correct English, but it's actually starting to pop up more and more in English as a form of am not. So, like, am I not pretty? That would be the formal, correct way of saying it, but somebody might say, ain't I pretty? As a way of kind of remedying that, the fact that there is no official one. And then another one is, some people might say aren't. Aren't I lucky? Even though aren't goes with you, right? Or we. Doesn't go with I, but for some reason we just put it in there to because we don't have a form. And then I think on that list, yeah, it's on that list. So any questions for page 3? So we'll move on to the non-auxiliary contractions. So these ones are kind of ones you'll just hear, and they mean different things. Like an example would be "let us go for a walk" turns into "let's go for a walk." And there were a few more interesting ones on the list, like o'clock. Have you guys seen that before? O apostrophe clock.
Oh,
So-
3 o'clock?
Yeah, right. So it means of the clock, but it was contracted, so it means it's just o'clock now. So o'clock, it used to be, or the extended form is of the clock.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know it either. So that's an interesting one, and it's kind of an example of how contractions can become more used and more popular than the extended form, and kind of the extended forms fall out of use. And then these informal contractions, we're not really going to focus on during today's class, but these are the ones that you hear, and you're going to hear us saying them. They're going to slip out, we're sorry. Things like, I want to go home, for I want to go home, or what do you mean? Can either of you tell me what the extended form is? Right, but when you hear it, it's kind of all
Kind of.
squished together, kind of, right? And I think I say that a lot.
Oh.
Kind of. Can you think of any others that you've heard maybe?
Well, earlier you also said gonna.
Gonna?
When you drop the G in a word like running home.
I think that might be something different. But just,
Well, I mean, that's kind of a contraction, but it's not a contraction.
yeah.
It's
I
omission.
think it's there's something else. It's like
You would still represent the
Well,
reduction
It would be
need.
like wanna.
truncation.
Well, with wanna, it's want to. That's when you contracted. With running, it's just
How?
just omission, deletion. You'd still put an apostrophe at the end of it to show that you're missing the G.
So
If you're going to go super correct about it, but
But
What do you?
but comma, it's not one.
how do you?
How do you-
Or would. How do you pronounce this word? It depends what she's asking if it's dropping syllables. That's what I heard.
I understand those, but why want to change to wanna?
So it's weird, right? Because all of the ones that we've seen before have this kind of formula where you delete something and you squish it together. These ones, because they're not kind of standard contractions that have developed through writing, they've happened through speech. So they're kind of just a
Lazy.
way of writing down reflecting what we say instead of making it writing and then saying it, right? So wanna, that's what it sounds like. And we're trying to reflect the sound with the spelling, right?
I would want
what
to
do you-
write it.
Yeah.
You think of
But not
anything?
appropriate in academic writing.
But yeah, that's the point we're gonna make, is that it's important, right, it's important to be able to hear them and to kind of decipher them and figure out what the extended form is, especially if you're going to be speaking to native speakers. But yeah, don't use them in academic writing because you will get marked off. Right? But just
Those
something
kinds
to,
of writing.
yeah, just something to keep in mind that when you hear these things, like I want to go home and I don't want to do that and I'm gonna go do this, when you hear that and you think, gosh, people are speaking really weird. That's what it is. It's just this kind of contraction happening in speech.
Do your friends, your English speaking friends,